You know what hits different now? The silence that used to ache has started revealing more than words ever could, and deep down, you can feel it. Something shifted the moment you called your power back, and it cracked open a truth they were never ready to face. They chased the noise, but it was your presence that gave them gravity, and without it, they're just floating. One path led them to mirrors, the other led you to healing, and now you're standing at a crossroads with two timelines opening at once. One is familiar but wounded, the other unknown but divinely timed, and both are staring straight at you. And the thing is, not everyone was meant to carry the weight of your light. Hello, soul family. Welcome to Spiritual Manifestation. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, I'm glad to have you home. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am that you're here, because the energy that's already coming through feels powerful. And I can tell this message is meant for someone who truly needs it today. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. If you feel called to go deeper, the extended readings and extra guidance are always available on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we get into the longer, more personal layers of these messages, and it's a beautiful space to connect on a deeper level. And while you're here, don't forget to support the channel by liking this video, leaving a comment below, and sharing this reading with someone who may need to hear it. Your energy in this community makes such a difference, and I love reading your thoughts and reflections. Now let's go ahead and shuffle the deck together. Spirit, we ask you to guide us in this moment, to bring through the clearest and most aligned messages for those listening. As I set the energy for this reading, I can already feel the cards beginning to stir, and I know something important is ready to come through. All right, Divine Feminine, let's pull the first card. Okay, I just pulled the Temperance card, and immediately the energy feels gentle but heavy. Spirit is bringing in something very personal here. This feels like a message about how your love, your light, was not just comforting, it was healing. You walked into someone's life and unknowingly started a transformation they weren't ready for. And now that you're gone, it's all starting to make sense for them. Too late. What I'm feeling is that you were like a safe place for this person, even if they didn't tell you that out loud, even if they never showed it clearly. It's like you were placed in their life at the exact moment they needed something real, something pure, and instead of recognizing it, they got overwhelmed by it. They couldn't meet you where you were. But Divine Feminine, what's wild is they see it now, they see you now, and they're sitting with the realization that your presence didn't just make them feel seen, it helped them feel alive again. I'm being shown that for some of you, you're in total no contact with this person. No updates, no conversations, no subtle clues. It might feel like you've been erased from their world. But energetically, oh, you're everywhere, especially in the quiet moments, especially at night. That's when they feel it the most. That's when they remember. And that's when Spirit reminds them of what they let slip away. You didn't just pass through their life. You left fingerprints on their soul. And now they're realizing they were saved by your love before they even knew they were drowning. For others, you might still have some small way of seeing them. maybe through mutual circles or social media. But even then, it feels like there's a distance they don't know how to cross anymore. You're not the same version of you they once knew, and deep down, they can feel that too. You've grown, you've healed, and they're still trying to understand why it's so hard to breathe without your energy holding space for them. Spirit is also showing me that this connection wasn't exactly easy. Maybe this person wasn't your usual type. Maybe there were things about them that felt different from what you were used to. And yet, you still leaned in. You still gave them your heart. And now you're sitting with questions, wondering why it ended the way it did, why it feels so unfinished. Because truthfully, divine feminine, it is. There's a blank space here, an unsaid goodbye, a conversation that never happened. And that's part of why this energy is resurfacing so strongly now. But the biggest thing this masculine is realizing is that you were the light in the room they didn't know they needed. You were the shift, the peace, the one who carried something sacred. And even though it's hitting them now, after the distance, after the silence, it's not just regret. It's a deep spiritual recognition. You were the one placed in their life to help them remember who they were. And they missed it. They missed you. This is someone who may not have had the language to express what you meant to them. They may not have understood the depth of your love when they had it. But now that you're gone, divine feminine, they're finally seeing the truth. You were the one who brought light into their darkness. You were the one who shifted the frequency in their life. You didn't just show up. You showed them a version of love that felt like safety, peace, and clarity. And it changed them. But now they're sitting with the realization that they were changed by someone they no longer have access to. So if you've been wondering what they think about you, how they feel, if they even care, Spirit is saying yes, loudly. Yes, they see it now. And they know they're lost without what you brought into their life. But the timing, it's heartbreaking. Because now that they're ready to honor your energy, you've already started choosing yourself. Let's go ahead and pull the next card. Okay, I just pulled the Hanged Man. And, oh wow, divine feminine. This energy is speaking so clearly right now. This connection wasn't just a pause. It was a spiritual turning point. And Spirit is showing me that while you've been sitting in the silence, trying to understand what even happened here, this masculine has been going through something much deeper than they'll ever admit. Because here's what I'm hearing from their energy. You make me feel crazy. And it's not in the way they used to mean that. Not in the moments where ego was loud and emotions were high. It's different now. What's crazy to them is the way your absence feels louder than your presence ever did. What's crazy is how much clarity is hitting them now that you're not around to give, to soften, to explain, to love. Because divine feminine, you always loved with understanding. And they're only just now realizing how rare that is. Spirit is saying, there's a reason this connection still feels unfinished to you. Because it is. You never got to say what you really felt. You never got to fully express how deeply this connection affected you. And now you're left with all these pieces you had to sort out on your own. While they stayed silent, you did the work. You dissected every moment, not just to understand them, but to understand yourself. because that's who you are. You turn pain into wisdom. And still, even after all that soul searching, there's a part of you that feels like something was taken, like something was left unresolved. And you're not wrong for feeling that way. You gave this person so much of your energy that at some point you started to feel like a shell of yourself, and they didn't notice, or if they did, they didn't know what to do with that. But Spirit did. And this was never just about love. It was about a test, a divine test to see if this masculine could handle sacred energy when it was given freely. Could they be a soft place for you the way you were for them? Could they pour back into you when your cup ran dry? Could they meet you in the middle? And divine feminine? They couldn't. Not then. And this is where the weight of it all comes in. Because now that you're gone, now that you've reclaimed your light, they feel it. That part of themselves that only made sense when you were near is now unreachable. And they don't understand why. They don't have the words to explain it, but their spirit does. Their spirit knows exactly what happened. And even if they can't put language to it, their soul is calling it what it is. They were given a gift they weren't ready to keep. You may have felt like they ran off with your energy, that they took something from you when they left things hanging. And you're not crazy for feeling that. You're not dramatic. You're not overreacting. This is real. The spiritual imprint of this connection runs deep, and it left you with more questions than closure. But what Spirit wants you to know is that none of this has been in vain. You were never meant to lose yourself in this. You were meant to remember yourself through it. And here's the part they don't see yet. Your silence is the loudest mirror they've ever faced. The quiet has become a confrontation. And the version of you they once knew, the version who would have stayed, who would have given more, she's no longer available. The you they remember is gone. What's here now is someone who's reclaimed her energy and is no longer willing to bleed for people who won't even bring a bandage. So if you've been wondering why they're showing up in your energy again, why their thoughts are circling you like clockwork, it's because they finally see you, the real you, the sacred you, the healer they didn't know how to honor. And now that they're sitting in their own spiritual timeout, they're realizing just how much of their growth was activated by your love, and how much of their suffering began the moment they lost access to it. Let's go ahead and pull the next card. Okay, I just pulled the Seven of Swords. And Divine Feminine, Spirit is not sugarcoating this at all. The truth is heavy. The weight of what's been done behind the scenes is starting to crash in, and this masculine, they're feeling it in a way that they can't outrun anymore. Not in the silence, not in the dark, not in their dreams, and especially not at night. Because at night, when everything else quiets down, when the distractions fall away, when the mind loosens its grip, that's when the truth creeps in. That's when the echo of your energy becomes unavoidable. You've probably felt it too. That strange pull at odd hours. That wave of exhaustion that doesn't match your day. The way your thoughts randomly drift to them even though you've been trying to move on. That's not coincidence. That's connection. That's your energy being remembered by a soul who didn't know how sacred it was when they had access to it. And here's the thing that's coming through with force. This masculine knows they misused your energy. Spirit is showing me that you didn't just love them, You breathed life into them with your words, with your warmth, with your patience, with your belief in who they could be. You poured from the deepest parts of your being, your soul, your sacral, your essence. You saw potential in them and held space for their growth even when they couldn't do the same for you. And the saddest part is, instead of pouring back into you, they redirected that life force. They took the sacred light you offered and used it to build something in the image of ego. This is why it's hitting so hard now. This is why their soul feels haunted. Because on some level they know what they did. They know they fumbled something holy. They know they used your energy to fuel a version of themselves that wasn't rooted in truth. That's why there's so much fear around facing you. Because if they came forward and told you everything, the truth about what they did, how they used what you gave them, where your energy went, it would destroy the image you once held of them. And they know that. Spirit is showing me a soul under spiritual judgment, someone being forced to sit with their choices, someone being stripped down to the truth. And Divine Feminine, this isn't about punishment, it's about accountability. When you pour love into someone from a place of purity, there is a spiritual law that governs that exchange. And when that love is used selfishly or carelessly, especially when it comes from someone chosen and anointed like you, there is always a balancing of energy. Always. You may have felt drained. You may have questioned your worth. You may have wondered why loving them made you feel smaller instead of whole. And I want you to know, it wasn't because you were too much or not enough. It was because they weren't prepared to carry the weight of your truth. Your love carried transformation. It demanded evolution. And they weren't ready. So instead of rising to meet you, they used your energy to fuel something outside of you. And now that energy is collapsing, the illusions are falling apart, and they're left with the reality that what they miss most wasn't a feeling, it was you. They want to come forward. Their soul is aching to speak. But they know that if they show up with full honesty, they risk losing you forever. Because the moment you learn what they did with your love, with your time, with your essence, it changes everything. And not because you're vengeful, but because you've grown, because you've awakened to the truth of your own value, because you now understand that your energy is sacred, and it's not to be handed to just anyone. So if you've been feeling the pressure, the pull, the strange sadness that comes out of nowhere, it's because their truth is trying to reach you. But Spirit wants you to stay in your power. You don't owe your peace to their apology. You don't owe your light to their regret. What you gave was real. What you offered was divine. And if they chose to misuse that, then their reckoning is with Spirit, not with you. Before we pull the next card, I just want to pause for a moment and check in with you. How has this been resonating with you so far? If something in these first 3 cards has already spoken to your heart, let me know in the comments. I love reading how these messages meet you right where you are. All right, let's go ahead and see what Spirit has for us as we pull the next card. Let's pull the next card together. Okay, I just pulled the Judgment card. And Divine Feminine, I'm feeling this deep in my chest. This isn't just a wake-up call, it's a divine call to account. And Spirit is making it very clear. This connection was never casual. There were spiritual laws tied to it. And right now, this masculine is learning that the hard way. You are not just another person in their life. You were sent, assigned, placed with intention. You came into their world not to fix them, but to activate something sacred within them, to show them a different path, to remind them of who they were before the world made them forget. And the moment they crossed those spiritual boundaries, whether it was through betrayal, neglect, or spiritual misuse, something shifted in the unseen. The contract wasn't just broken between you and them, it was broken between them. I keep hearing this word over and over again. Earth Angel. That's what you are, Divine Feminine. That's why this connection didn't feel like the others. That's why your soul still feels the weight of what happened here. Because you weren't just giving love, you were carrying light. And the thing is, when an earth angel loves someone, when you pour into them from a sacred place, there are spiritual protections that come with that offering. There are terms, there are conditions, not because your love is transactional, but because it's powerful. And when it's mishandled, the consequences echo across lifetimes. Now, this masculine is under judgment. And I don't say that lightly. I say that with the full weight of what Spirit is revealing. You may look at them right now and think, they look fine. They're living. They've moved on. But in the spiritual realm, oh, it's a different story. They're facing the energy they put out. They're facing the imbalance they caused. They're facing the truth that they were entrusted with something sacred and they weren't ready to hold it. And because they chose ego, shortcuts, and outside validation over spiritual alignment, they're being shown exactly what they lost. You, Divine Feminine, may still be feeling the remnants of this. You might wake up some mornings and feel their emotions like a fog you didn't invite. You might sense their regret in your dreams, their presence in your thoughts, their chaos brushing up against your peace. That's not your imagination. It's spiritual residue. Because when someone takes from your energy, especially when it's not returned or honored, there's a part of you that stays entangled until you consciously call it back. And I feel like that's what you're doing now. You're sorting, you're releasing, you're trying to find your balance again. But it's hard, it's triggering, because you didn't just lose a relationship, you were spiritually mishandled. Whether they knew what they were doing or not, they violated something sacred. And that's what makes this so hard to integrate. But here's what Spirit wants you to know. You didn't lose your power in this. You didn't lose your divinity. If anything, your awareness of what happened is proof that you're awakening to a whole new level of spiritual authority. You're not crazy. You're not being too sensitive. You're picking up on a soul under divine review, and it's shaking you because you were the source. You were the light. And now that the light is gone, this masculine is facing the shadow they tried to ignore. And let's be honest, there were terms and conditions to this connection. Maybe not written, maybe not spoken, but your soul knew them. Their soul knew them. And breaking them didn't just cost them a connection, it cost them access to your essence. And now they're beginning to understand that not every love is replaceable. Not every heart comes with another chance. Not every soul will ever hold them the way you did. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, if the energy has felt heavier than usual, It's because Spirit is showing you the truth behind the silence. They're under judgment. And you're being elevated. What they did wasn't just wrong, it was misaligned with the sacred. And you, Divine Feminine, are being asked to stand in your power, not with anger, but with clarity, not with revenge, but with remembrance. Remember who you are. Remember what you came here to do. And remember that your love changes people, not because you try, but because you are the medicine. Let's pull the next card and see what's coming through for you now. Okay, I just pulled the Four of Swords. And Divine Feminine, this card is such a soft, sacred breath after everything we've walked through so far. It carries this message that feels like Spirit gently placing a hand on your shoulder and saying, "You're doing it right. You're right on time." Because the truth is, this entire situation, as messy, painful, and confusing as it was, couldn't knock you off course. Not really. You took the hit. You felt the loss. But instead of chasing or spiraling or matching their chaos, you chose stillness. You chose to retreat inward and find yourself again. And that's where everything shifted. The message here is your pace is perfect, not rushed, not reactive, not controlled by what anyone else is doing. It's sacred, it's slow, it's yours. You've taken the time to sit with what happened, to analyze it from a higher level, to feel through it without letting it consume you. And honestly, that's something not many people can do. Because let's be real, this connection hit deeper than most, not just emotionally, but spiritually. This masculine didn't just disrupt your heart, he disrupted your energy field. And yet, here you are, finding your way back to balance, softly, quietly, powerfully. Spirit is showing me that your mind is your gift. You carry this rare blend of logic and emotion, wisdom and warmth. And while your heart is open, it's not naive. You feel deeply, but you process intelligently. And that's why you're healing. That's why your nervous system, your emotions, your sleep, your focus, it's all starting to stabilize. You're no longer living in reaction to what was done to you. You're moving at the rhythm of who you are now. And Divine Feminine, that's power. It's no small thing to return to yourself after being spiritually drained. And that's what happened here, right? This person didn't just hurt you, they pulled from you, they siphoned your light. And whether it was intentional or unconscious, your body and your soul still felt it. But the beauty is in how you responded. Instead of becoming bitter, you became aware. Instead of chasing closure, you chose clarity. You realized that not everything needs a conversation. Some things just need distance. Some things require space for truth to reveal itself without forcing it. And you gave yourself that space. That's why your energy is returning. That's why your peace is louder than their chaos now, because you didn't fight for validation. You didn't rush your healing. You didn't make their inability to love you properly mean anything about your worth. You simply chose to honor your process. And that's why Spirit keeps whispering, your pace is perfect. There's also something deeper here, because this isn't just about healing, it's about spiritual authority. You are someone whose essence rarely wavers. So for this masculine to have disrupted your energy this much, it means they were allowed close to a very sacred part of you. And now that you've called your energy back, Spirit is not just restoring you. They're watching how this person handles the aftermath of what they lost. And the reason the judgment is so strong isn't just because of what they did, but because of who they did it to. So, Divine Feminine, take this as confirmation. You're coming back to life. Your balance is returning. The confusion is fading. Your energy is yours again. And no, it didn't happen all at once. But little by little, choice by choice, you've been reclaiming yourself. And that's why things feel more calm, more quiet, more you, because you've exited the storm. And now you're moving in alignment with your soul's real timing. Let them feel the silence. Let them feel the space you used to hold. You're not behind. You're not late. You're right where you need to be. Healing doesn't always look loud. It often looks like soft mornings, clearer thoughts, and finally feeling like you can breathe again. Let's go ahead and pull the final card for this reading. Okay, I just pulled the Five of Pentacles. And the first thing I heard was, they never thought they'd feel this empty without you. Divine Feminine, this is the energy of someone who didn't know what they had until they lost it completely. And now that your power, your essence, your life force has been called back to you, what's left behind for them is this hollow space, this ache, this sudden realization that the world feels colder without your warmth in it. This is what it feels like when someone misuses sacred love, when they play with the presence of an earth angel, when they get comfortable soaking in your light but never think it'll run out. And now that it has, this masculine is spiritually starving. Not because you wanted them to suffer, but because spirit needed to show them the truth of what they were connected to. And here's what's so layered about this. They're realizing that your love didn't just feel good, it changed things. It changed them. It uplifted their energy, calmed their spirit, brought clarity to their chaos. And maybe they didn't know how to say it back then. Maybe they were too immature, too lost, too prideful to admit how deeply you were impacting them. But now, with you gone, the silence is saying everything. And what it's saying loudest is, I'm lost without you. That's not a line. It's a soul cry. Because this isn't about missing the comfort. This isn't about wanting someone back for selfish reasons. This is about realizing that you were the one who saw them clearly. You were the one who held space for their evolution. You were the one who carried unconditional love, not blind love, but love with divine insight. And instead of rising to meet you, they fumbled it. They fumbled you. Even if this person looks unbothered on the outside, spiritually, they're being leveled. Spirit is showing me an inner collapse. Like everything they built from ego is now trembling. Because here's the thing, they used your energy to boost their image, their confidence, maybe even their reputation. But now that the source is gone, none of it feels real anymore. The compliments don't hit the same. The connections feel shallow. The highs don't last. Because your love was never surface. It was soul. And they can't find that anywhere else. You may be wondering, why do I still feel this energy? Why do I still sense them if I've moved on? And Spirit is saying it's because they're calling out to you, not through words, but through frequency. You're feeling the ache of a soul who suddenly knows just how rare your love was. And the truth is, they don't know how to live without it now. They thought you were replaceable, but now they're realizing you were the miracle. And Divine Feminine, this is also why your guides are urging you to pace yourself. Because as this person begins to grasp the full depth of what they lost, their instinct will be to come toward you. Maybe with apologies, maybe with truth, maybe with confessions that would shake everything you once believed about them. But here's the test now. Will you choose the past that wounded you, or the future that honors you? Because there's another energy approaching too, a new offer, one that doesn't pull from you, but pours into you, one that doesn't ask you to dim, but shines with you. And this is the moment where your healing creates space for that new timeline to form, because you're no longer operating from survival or longing. You're walking in truth. You've seen who they were. You've seen what your energy does. And now you get to decide who gets access to this new version of you. This masculine may very well return. And if they do, they might say things you never thought you'd hear. But Spirit wants you to remember something very important. They saw you clearly only after the light was gone. And if someone couldn't recognize you when they were standing in your grace, they may not deserve to return to it now that they're standing in the cold. So whatever you choose, know that you're not being rushed. You're not being tested to break. You're being offered a chance to rise. You've already passed the hardest parts. You've already learned how to sit with your truth and hold your light through it all. And now, you're being prepared for your next assignment, for a love that's been divinely aligned, for something that doesn't take from you, but joins you in your mission. Because Divine Feminine, you are the frequency, you are the shift, and the deeper you honor your own essence, the more clear the path becomes. Let this masculine feel the loss. Let Spirit handle their healing. You, keep walking forward. Keep trusting your timing. Because what's ahead of you doesn't feel like lack. It feels like home. Okay, this feels like a beautiful place to close the reading. What we've seen here is a reminder that your energy is powerful, your journey is guided, and Spirit is always working in ways you may not fully see yet. Trust that what is meant for you will always find its way, and you don't need to chase. Just allow yourself to stay aligned and open. If you feel called to dive deeper, the exclusive and extended version of our readings are available right now on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we really expand on these messages and explore the layers that Spirit couldn't fit into this space. Also, don't forget to check out the community posts and today's energy reading updates. I love connecting with you there and hearing how these messages meet you in your own journey. Drop your comments below, share your personal requests, and let me know how this reading spoke to you. And if you'd like to keep the energy flowing, I've linked some other videos here that I know will guide and encourage you. I'll see you in the next reading. Bye for now.